So basically, if we look at the background of the economic civilization, we started with agriculture when agriculture was predominantly providing the livelihood support to the human being around the world. Then we moved into the era of industry, and finally we are now from the second half of the 20th century onward, we are in the era of knowledge. So from agriculture to industry to knowledge. But then all the three are complementary to each other. All the three are moving together. But the relevance and the importance of all the three has been changing over the time. Today, knowledge is dominating all the fields. And when we speak of knowledge, then we also know that in our economic life, we need certain resources to grow. So, what are the resources we have? We have basically three kinds of resources: natural resource, which used to provide a total support to agriculture in the primitive days. And then the second resource is the capital resource, which used to provide support to industrial revolution in the 19th century. And the third resource is the human resource, and which is providing ample support to the knowledge economy. So, if you look at the importance of these three resources, natural resource, capital resource, and the human resource, the degree of importance in today's era of knowledge has changed, and according to World Bank study, uh, natural resource provide support in the weightage of say only 20% out of 100. Capital resource provides support only to the extent of 16% out of 100. And human resource, which provides support to 64% of the total economic resources, which is 100%. So, this background I am giving because we know that if India has to grow and if our people have to get a better standard of living, then we must grow with the support of our human resource. And the topic today is ideas, IP, innovation, and startups. All these things are related. It is the human resource which is the base for today's economy and for the intellectual resource. আমি বাংলায় যদি বলি, এই যে মানব সম্পদ, এই মানব সম্পদ হচ্ছে আজকের নলেজ ইকোনমির ফান্ডামেন্টাল বেস। এই মানব সম্পদ দিয়েই তৈরি হচ্ছে বৌদ্ধিক সম্পদ। কাজেই আজকে আমরা যে বিষয় নিয়ে আলোচনা করছি, সেখানে the idea, we talk of idea, the idea comes from the human mind. So basically we have body, mind, and intellect. So intellect is the supreme out of these three: body, mind, and intellect. So the fundamental, the most important thing is to control your mind. And then wisdom, which is once you have a stable mind, then your intellect starts thinking in a very creative way. So that this creativity gives birth to the ideas. So this is broadly the background, and then we will move gradually. So as I have said, we are in the knowledge era, and today, with the background of the knowledge, the economy is now based on information technology. So it is also known as information communication technology. So this is one aspect of the development which is taking place on the basis of science and technology. So this is information communication technology. And then the second thing which we are moving ahead in our economic development on the basis of the information technology is the digital economy. Now everything as driven by the technology, which is information technology, everything which we see in our economic life is becoming digital. And as I said, in the present phase of the industrial revolution or the economic revolution or the latest economic development or the new economic civilization, the digital economy is moving and is becoming pervasive in all the fields. And this is what we are saying through the machine learning and blockchain technology in the name of artificial intelligence. So we have to look at what this new economy is and how we are going to move with this new economy and what is the role of ideas and innovation in this new economy. Now, as I've said, that in this new economy, which is primarily being driven through the forces of knowledge, and with every day, changes are taking place in the field of technology. And these technology are coming out of new ideas. Now we have to know what is the role of ideas and how the ideas are getting transformed into the intellectual asset. So when we start with ideas, then we have to also know what are these ideas and how to transform these ideas into the asset. Because ideas, if they remain dormant in your mind, they are of no value. So you must express your idea. You must express your idea in any form, either by developing some product with the combination of chemical or the physical item, or by writing a poem, or by painting in any form, or by singing a song or playing a music. So the ideas which are moving in your intellect. So for that, which I said, the fundamental thing is control of your mind. So once you have control on your mind, you are able to meditate and think, and then your intellect generates or creates new ideas. So those ideas have to be expressed, and those creative people, they always express their ideas. So in our present challenges of learning and then creating the right kind of atmosphere for you to take advantage of your learning, you have to, during your study period, during your college days, you have to take advantage of all the available infrastructure which is required for the research. Because whenever there is a question of developing ideas. Some ideas are abstract and some ideas you have to go through certain apparatus. So the second stage after the ideas are expressed is that you have some laboratory test of your ideas, whether those ideas fulfill the proof of concept, and after once you have the proof of concept, then you have to have some pilot testing, and finally you go for commercialization or monetization of your ideas in the form of some tangible asset. So your intangible idea gets converted into some tangible product or process. So this is how the whole cycle of idea moves, and then this is called idea to asset. Winston Churchill once said, the next empires will be the empires of the mind. And today we are seeing this thing has come true, whether we speak of Bill Gates or we speak of Steve Jobs or we speak of anybody who has been in the field of Facebook, Twitter, or Google or Amazon. So what we are seeing today, that the old economy is getting replaced by the new economy of knowledge. And we see that these people are the present king or the emperor, in the sense that they control the global economy. Their products are being used all over the globe. So you need anything, Amazon or Flipkart or Walmart, or whether you need any hotel or you need any car or you need any kind of product, you do everything through your digital platforms. So the importance of IPR. Now, before I take you to this slide, let me just also tell you first that, as I have said you, the ideas are basically in the human mind. So those ideas you convert into intellectual asset, and then those intellectual asset, if they remain unprotected, so anybody can use them. So therefore you need a sword, and through that sword your intellectual asset, your intellectual property becomes intellectual property right. So your ideas, if you do not know what is IP and what is IPR, then your ideas may be stolen by somebody. So you have to also know how to protect the ideas and your intellectual property. So when you want to protect it, you have to get it registered either as a patent or as a copyright or as a trademark or as an industrial design. So you have to get it sealed. And then once you get it sealed, then the law gives you a right that if anybody infringes your ideas or your IP, your intellectual property, without your permission, without giving you a value either as a license fee or as a royalty, then you can use this sword, or that means the legal process, and you can take action to recover the loss which you have suffered because of the infringement or unlawful use of your ideas without your permission or without paying you any royalty or fees. So this is broadly about the IP and the IPR. So IP is any intangible property that is the result of innovation and creativity. IP is any intangible product of mind comprising human knowledge and ideas. So this is about IP and IPR. So intellectual property broadly refers to an intellectual intangible asset or an innovation or an idea which may not have a legal enforceable right. For example, uh, anyway, so basically, intellectual property refers to any intellectual asset, and then intellectual property, once you register it under law, it becomes intellectual property right, and different kinds of intellectual property rights gives you different kinds of duration of its life. So intellectual property in the form of invention, which comes become a legal right in the form of a patent, gives you a enforcement right of 20 years. So similarly, other right, we will see them one by one. So this I have already explained you that ideas comes from the human brain, and then ideas are converted into intellectual asset by expression, and then once you get it shielded by registration under different laws, it becomes intellectual property right. So there are different kinds of intellectual property rights in the form of patent, trademark, copyright, etc., which we'll learn from the next slide. So if it is a scientific invention, then uh, you get it registered and it becomes a patent. A patent has a life of 20 years. Then if it is a expression of ideas in the form of a music or any kind of work of art, painting, etc., then you get a protection for the whole of your life, and also 60 years after the death of the author or the person who has created that right in the copyrights. Then you have trademark or the service mark, like any kind of brand. It may be like Mercedes car, or it can be Hero, Honda, or so-called iPhone, Apple phone. These are various names and the brands like pizza. So all those brands now they have infinite life, but then you have to register it with the trademark authority, and then every 10 years you have to renew it. If you keep on renewing it, it will never end. So there are brands which are 300 years old or 400 years old. So the trademark does not have a limited life. If you keep on renewing them, it may have indefinite life. Then you have industrial design. So any kind of product which you make, the shape which you give, the aesthetic value which you give, that is your design for a product, and that also is protected under the law. It also has a life of 10 years, but it can be further renewed for another 5 years. Then in the era of knowledge, everything is run through computer and other devices. So those devices also have some protection in the form of integrated circuits and layout design. So those integrated circuits and layout designs are also protected in the law for 10 years. And then you have geographical indications like Alfonso mango or Malda mango, or you have the Kolhapur chappal or Banarusi sari or Darjeeling tea. Now you have in uh, West Bengal our Rasgulla or Jayanagar Moa. These are all protected under the GI. So GI trademark you have an individual right, GI you have a community right. Right. The particular territory people who are using it, they get a community right over the product. So that is known as GI. And then you have trade secrets. If you want to, you have an idea, but then if you want to disclose it to the people, you get a patent right. If you don't want to disclose it, then it remains as a trade secrets, and then you can disclose it to a limited number of people through an agreement, confidential agreement. So that person to whom you are disclosing is bound by the agreement and he cannot disclose it to the others without your permission. So this is how different kinds of IP are. And in today's globalized economy, all these IPRs are regulated under the legal framework of WTO, World Trade Organization, which is an international agreement called trade-related aspects of intellectual property rights, which is known as TRIPS. And all these different kinds of IPR, patent, copyright, trademark, industrial design, integrated circuit, geographical indications, and trade secrets, these are all protected under the broader provisions of TRIPS, but each nation has its own law. India has its own patent law, own copyright law, but different countries can have different framework. But broadly, all these laws have to be broadly, satisfy certain criteria of the TRIPS agreement. So next is that there are these are the few statutory rights given under the law, but there are certain laws, common law and the convention, which also grants you certain protections for traditional knowledge and data protection. Unregistered trademark also, if you don't register your trademark, then you get some right of protection of passing off under the common law. Now, after giving a broader idea about what is your IP, what is your IPR, and then I've also given you some background about the knowledge economy today. Now, I must tell you that there used to be a time when there was an economic value of only tangible property. You have land, you have building, you have bank balances, you have different kinds of assets. So you used to call yourself a wealthy person if you are a landlord, if you have a lot of properties. But today, the maximum value, the wealth, is generated not by the tangible property, but by the intangible property. If you have knowledge, if you have technology, then you are more wealthy than a person who has the wealth. You may be knowing, even just 20 years before, there used to be companies like General Motors, Exxon Mobil, AT&T, and various other companies which have become more or less like a dinosaur now. And as compared to those companies, the value of Amazon, Apple, now Apple phone, the iPhone, it has a market capitalization of $2 trillion. Can you imagine? Now, the entire world has a asset of worth of say about $100 trillion, but one company, Apple alone, has a market capitalization of 1 trillion. So this is the kind of changes which is coming to the new economy, which I have told the knowledge economy. Now 80% of the global wealth comes from IP in the present knowledge-based economy. So this is one thing which you and we all must understand, that the ideas, they are really most important. So as a young students, you must understand, and you should feel proud that the God has given you this mind, the brain, and you must not fill it with the spoiled ideas. You must have always, some creative idea how you can solve the problem. When there was darkness, Edison and Tesla, they thought of electricity, but that electricity is okay. But today, the world, the kind of problem the world is facing, you need the new ideas to solve the new problems. Now, the world is facing the biggest problem of environmental danger because of the carbon uh, dioxide, and there is air pollution, water pollution everywhere. You even cannot breathe properly. So the world is facing this problem of uh, carbon. So the world is moving now from the carbon economy to the green economy. So you have to have new ideas and invention in this field. So every time the world faces some problem, so though we keep evolving new ideas in the field of automobiles and electronics and various other areas, so in the field of pharmaceutical or information technology, etc. But then the new era would require more research on the wind energy, on the solar energy, on the renewable energy, so that you don't have so much of emission in the atmosphere, which is causing the danger to the human life. The uh, global temperature is going up, and we need to have control on the temperature, and the world is facing this problem, so we need to have control on the temperature, on the heats. So what I was trying to say that this mm, intangible wealth is the most valuable. And if you look at the global economy, then what we find, the countries which are having more of technology, more of science, they are the countries which are richer. And from that perspective, if you look at the economy of China, if you look at the economy of US and the European Union, say for example, United States, United States has its income largely, its, which contributes to its GDP, is largely the intangible asset. The total global economy is 90 trillion economy, of which United States GDP is about 20. Dollar economy. So double of India's economy in United States is only from IPR. So in the beginning I mentioned that we have three resources: agriculture, that is natural resource, manufacturing, industrial resources, and the knowledge of the human resource, which is the capital, which is the most important intangible resource. Now, if in India, resources, agriculture, manufacturing, services, resources put together of only $3 trillion. When United States only, it's 35% of the uh, United States economy, which comes from the intellectual property, which is double of, and there we need to have more and more research and more of intellectual resources. So your ideas will be the asset for tomorrow. Anybody is saying anything?
Students are requested to keep their microphones off. Kita Das, please keep your microphone off. Sir is speaking. Okay, sorry, sir, for the interruption.
Okay. No. So as I was saying, that ideas are so powerful, ideas are so important that the ideas give birth to the knowledge. Only information will not help. You may have any kind of information through any kind of search engine of Google or anything. So you want to know anything, you just Google and you get it. But at the same time, you should know the difference between information and knowledge. All the pieces of information, you should use them to for creativity and to develop some knowledge, because ideas only can become asset. So the first slide which I showed you, you have to pick up information, link it with your new creativity, because information is necessary, but that information itself is not everything. That is necessary. So today, if United States is so rich, that is because of the ideas. You know, all the companies which we see, whether it is Google or Amazon or Facebook or Twitter, all the companies have its headquarters in United States. They could be in India also. And then you have to also think that most of the CEOs of all those companies are Indians. That means Indians have the brains. But what we are lacking in India is the innovation, the kind of enterprise. That's why I said startup. So even if you have some creativity, but if you are not using this creativity for doing your own business through a startup, so the benefit will go not to India but to some other person who is entrepreneur. So you have to also understand the importance of startup, that if you have an idea and if you are using that idea for somebody else, so the benefit, the wealth will go to somebody else, as is happening now. The United States is providing them opportunity, and our ideas, our brain, our creativity is benefiting United States and not to India. So this is the crux of this slide. Now, next. Now, if we really look for that, yes, we want this. So you alone cannot do everything. The country, the nation has to do something for you. It is a collective effort which can help each other in developing the culture of startup, the developing the culture of intellectual property and the intellectual property ecosystem that is necessary. Now, Government of India came out with a national IPR policy on 13th of May 2016, and in that national IPR policy, Government of India has laid down that these are the few components which are very important to develop a strong intellectual property ecosystem. And what is that? That IPR awareness. Now, something which I am, teaching you or uh, helping you in learning is that what is IPR and how it is important. Okay. So this awareness is important, and you must keep learning about it throughout your study for 4 years or 5 years during your BTech or B courses. Now, you may be developing a lot of ideas during that period. So you have to see that if you are able to convert those ideas into asset. So once you do that, then you will find that IIEST is providing you a platform. It has a IPR cell, it has an IPR policy. It will help both the teachers and the students together can generate a lot of IPRs. You can have a lot of patents. Now, if you look at the universities in United States, whether it is Oxford or Columbia or any university outside MIT, the universities, they have a very good portfolio of IPR. They do collaborative research with the private organizations, and the private organizations, they give fund to them to help them to do the research, and the institutions which has the brain of students as well as of faculty members, they do the collaborative research. So the money is provided by the private sector, and the research is done by the academic institutions, and that after that the IPR is owned jointly by the private enterprise as well as by the university. And once the private sector start using it, they will keep on paying a fixed royalty to the university, through which the university can do further research. So this is how the virtuous cycle starts operating. So during your tenure, you should help the IIEST in developing, generating IPR through your creativity. And then, once you generate the ideas, then you have the legal framework to be followed. You have to register those intellectual assets and make them IPR. So you have the intellect. From intellect, that I, you convert it into asset, then it becomes IP, intellectual property, and then through the legal attorney help, you get a right. So that I to P to R. So these three terms, the three letters IPR, intellect, that is intellectual, P property, and then R right. So first start with the creativity. You create an idea, that is I, then you convert it into an IP asset, so it becomes IP, and then once you get a shield, you get it registered, then it becomes IPR. That is the legal process, and then that helps you in the university very good administration and management about all your IP assets, and then you approach the private sector to commercialize it, then they use it. Because if only invention is done, if it is not used by any organization, then it remains only in theory. That is the problem with India is having. A lot of Indian research institutions are having, and for that, Government of India has developed one organization called NRDC, National Research Development Corporation, which help in the technology transfer. So that technology transfer is something which helps in the ultimate commercialization of the IPR, because the IP asset has to be monetized. That monetization and commercialization, that is very important. Because unless you do it, and that is done by the startups. There is the role of the, if you as a student, if you develop, and after passing out, if you go and look for job, then who will use that IPR? So nowadays the trend is that you, a group of students, can join together, and you develop the, now many students in IITs, they are doing it. So you start thinking that from the beginning, the like-minded students who are in going for chemistry or physics or for any kind of area, civil engineering or anywhere, you should think about it, what you want to become. You want to go for a startup. So the university will provide you all the platform. So you start thinking on the creativity, what are the problems, what the world is doing. So if in US something is happening, you think about it, what kind of different kind of applications are there. Now we find that there are a lot of computer applications, mobile applications. So those things, everything is done through the those applications. So you can do that, and for anything, and those enable you to do whether it's a banking transaction or an insurance transaction, or it's a ordering, marketing, anything. Whether it is even if it relates to accounting profession, you can help developing the software for accounting. So anything is possible. So there you have to use your creativity, and ultimately you have to develop through your IPR something new. So this is how the things will move. So IP to IPR, and then the commercialization, and this is how the IP enforcement and human capital developed. So this is one chapter about the IP ecosystem. And as I said, that in the whole process of IP ecosystem, from creativity, and then from creativity, the most important thing, as I said, in the IP ecosystem, you have to have some infrastructure, some apparatus, and that is for creativity, you need the research and development centers, because once you have the idea, you have created the idea, then those ideas have to be developed through some research center, or for that in the research, then you gradually keep developing those ideas. But once it's the research, then it is the development. And somehow, if you feel that yes, you have the idea, but you don't have the somebody else is having the IPR, so that IP asset can be acquired by the organization. Okay, so this is how the creation is done, either through your own research or by purchasing the idea from somebody. So the manufacturer can do. If you are an entrepreneur, if you are an innovator, if you want to produce something, then either you can have your own idea converted into a new business, or you can take the help of others, so you can acquire the IPR. So this is how we go. Then once you have it, then you go for protection, you go for managing it. Sometimes you can do the value, ask somebody to do the valuation of your intellectual asset. Now we here in our company, we do the valuation for the intellectual property, because once you have the intellectual property, you have the valuation, and then you can ask somebody who can purchase it, you can license it. So this is how it happens. So this is the cycle. So creation of the idea. So once you create it or you acquire it, then you have to go through the legal process, then registration, then enforcement. So broadly, it is the cycle of creativity, creation, legalization, registration, and enforcement. And once you do that, then utilization. So utilization means commercialization. So from creation to commercialization, this is how you have to keep on going. So this can be a continuous process, but the students on a very practical side, you have to keep, always learning and developing the idea, so that ultimately, you see, you may have so many ideas, but some idea through expression, through collaboration, through discussion, you can develop into a new, tangible, real, workable idea, so that can become an intellectual property. So not all ideas can become intellectual property, but some ideas can definitely become intellectual property. Now, you see, for any idea to become an asset, as I said, you have to have some ecosystem. And that ecosystem, as I said, to start with, that broadly first, this kind of awareness, now which I am giving you, now the university has to provide you apparatus for the research, laboratory test. So for that, when we talk in general, then India as a country should provide research facility to all the students throughout the country, in all the universities, and high quality research. But unfortunately, maybe due to our limited resources, or maybe because India has not recognized the importance of intellectual property till date, because our national IPR policy also was declared in 2016, that is almost 60 years after, 65 years after our independence. So, basically, this is very almost after 70 years, 1947 to 2016. So Now we are going to celebrate the 75th year of our independence. But unfortunately, till date, our spending on the research and development, if you look at the whole world, we are spending only 0.65% of our GDP in our IPR. If you look at the countries, other countries, Israel, almost 5%, South Korea, 4.5%, Japan, 3.28%, Sweden, 3.31%, Germany, 3.13%, United States, 2.83%, France, 2.2%, European Union together on an average 2.19, and China 2.14, United Kingdom 1.7. The world average is 2.2, whereas we are spending only 0.65%. Now here there are two issues. Number one, our GDP size in itself is very small. If you compare with China and America, Chinese economy is $21 trillion. And out of $21 trillion, they are spending 2.83. China's economy is almost $14 trillion today. Out of that, they are spending 2.14. But our economy is only $3 trillion. And of the 3 trillion also, we are spending only 0.65. So if you look at the total amount which US is spending or the China is spending, whose GDP is 6 times or 10 times more than ours. So, and their percentage is also 4 times, 5 times higher. So definitely they are spending huge amount on the R&D. So if US is able to run $6.6 trillion only from the IPR, that is because they are spending also, they are investing so much in the in creating the IP asset. So unless you change the priority of spending your money of your investment, you cannot do it. So India government has to understand, the private sector has to understand that if we really want to make more value added product, because now you see this system through which we are talking to each other, that is also important. The hardware which we are using, that is also important. The lights which are illuminating your room, that is also important. Everything we are importing. Okay, maybe the furniture on which you are sitting, those are also important. So all electrical things, electronic things, and even in pharma, many of the medicines, although in pharma we are doing very good, but many of those bulk drugs we are importing from China. So what we have to do, if we really want to create a good atmosphere for startups, we have to have a very good standard of laboratories and the research stations. But nevertheless, if we have the creativity, we can do that. So creativity is very important. Understanding the subject is very important, and this realization about if tomorrow you want to make a self-reliant India, there is no option. We also say that vocal for local. That means we have to give importance to the local product. So even if you see we don't have the kind of product which we are importing from the other countries, but even then, if we give priority to our local product, so the economy can become strong, the local people can become rich. So we have to give priority to our local goods. You see, even in Japan or many other countries, it has not become rich overnight. Japan, there are many examples that they are very nationalist and they give importance to their local products. So we have to also learn that gradually we will develop our own product through our research and technology. But in the meanwhile, we must, become more Swadeshi. We must give more priority to our local product so that our local people get employment. So it does not matter that they may be a little rough, but then giving employment to the local people is also very important. So you should develop the idea how we can create local market for local product. See, for marketing, you can your ideas can bring wonderful results. So the ultimate idea should be how to create good job for our people, how to develop market for our local people, how we can give more priority to our local goods, so that the earning of the local people can give them more purchasing power, and then gradually we can become a strong country. So our Prime Minister is saying Atmanirbhar Bharat, so self-reliant India, but that can happen only with these two things. We have to give priority to our local goods, but at the same time, we have to give more and more importance to our ideas, and more spending on the research and development. There may be some more slides on the research, but this is one. The next slide shows that gradually, earlier there used to be more spending from the government side, but now gradually the private sector is also investing in the research and development. But in India, still it is very low. And this is one slide which gives you a broader picture about the Global Innovation Index. As I said that in today's era of knowledge, it is the innovation which drives the economy. So, World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO, in collaboration with certain other private organizations, every year they develop a Global Innovation Index, GII. Now, this GII is, the representation of how innovative your country is. But if you look at India, India is positioned on the third slide, low middle income economy, and in the low middle economy, India is placed third. But then globally, our position is 48. If you look at the global situation, Switzerland is number one, Sweden is number two, US is number three, UK is number four, Netherlands is five, Denmark six, Finland 7, Singapore 8, Germany 9, Republic of Korea 10. Now these are the countries which spend very huge amount in their R&D. Now China, in the upper middle income economies, China is number one. This is in the middle income. High income group, upper middle income group, lower middle income group. India is placed in the lower middle income group. China is placed in the upper middle income group because China's economy today is $14 trillion. Ours is only $3 trillion. China is almost 5 times that of us. But US is still ahead of China with 21 trillion. But if you look at the per capita income, there also India's population, China's population become remaining very high. So per capita income, these are the countries with high income economies. So there, US is much ahead of China as far as the per capita income is concerned. And but China's per capita income is much higher than that of India. So we are a lower middle income economy, and our position in the GI is 48, though it is coming up gradually, but still very far, still very. That how our position improves in the global innovation index. One thing you should also be very clear that invention and innovation, these are two different things. Steve Jobs was not an inventor, he was not a scientist, but he was an innovator. So to become a startup, you need not yourself be a scientist. Maybe some of you may be very good in the invention, but some of you may be very good in the business. So if if you are a group in a particular stream, so some of you may develop good idea and you can be a good inventor, but at the same time, some of you can also be innovator even without any invention. So those who are unable to do invention, scientific invention, should not feel disheartened. because it is the ultimate innovator who gives birth to the startup. Okay, but there is a collaboration of the inventor and the innovator. Without invention, innovation cannot happen. So invention is the foundation. So that is why these kind of research institutions and this kind of study for the science and engineering. And then we have this figure. This shows that even if you have the idea, if you don't register it as a patent, so nothing will happen. So ideas must be converted into the asset, and then those asset has to be converted into IPR. Now, China, which was very like India today, China was also not very much ahead in the field of IPR just 20 years before. But today, the maximum number of patents are being filed by China. If you look at the number, which are all official, but it is 38.1% China of the total number of patents filed, then United States 20%, then Japan, then Republic of Korea, and then European Union. So this is how China is filing maximum number of patents in today's time. And that is why it is, giving challenge to United States in the field of technology. So for India also, it's a great challenge. We are much behind now. Our number of patents is hardly 50,000 a year, which you will see from the next slide. Though our number of patents are increasing from 2014-15, 42,000 to 50,000 in 28-29. But these numbers are, no numbers. Then China is filing 13 lakh patents every year. 13 lakhs. So more than 25 times than of India. So we have to improve. And you are young. India has a lot of hope from the youth. So we also talk of, demographic dividend. India has the highest number of population of our youth, but you see, it's not a one-side game. The country has to provide enough infrastructure for R&D, enough opportunity for education, skill development, and to develop a strong IP ecosystem. Then only we can convert our ideas into ultimately patent. If you look at the different states position, Maharashtra files maximum number, then Tamil Nadu, then Karnataka, then Delhi, then Telangana, then Uttar Pradesh, then Gujarat, then Punjab, and then West Bengal. So, see, this is the position. Assam is the lowest. Uttarakhand is the second lowest. So, even amongst various states, you find that this innovation index is not equal. It is, there used to be a time when West Bengal, even today, if you look at the number of scientists and whether in India or abroad, the quality inventions are done from the people from Bengal. But then, if you look at the number of filing of the patent from the, so maybe the inventions are done by the people from Bengal, but those patents are registered by somebody, some company in Maharashtra or Tamil Nadu. So this brain drain is happening from Bengal to the other provinces. So there is a need for reversal of the brain drain, and then only the numbers can improve. Then startup in India, the term has been in use for the last 4-5 years only. Startup India, Stand Up India, those slogans, and but then this has been paying. The number of startups recognized by Department of Internet Trade under the Ministry of Commerce has gone up to 50,000 as on 3rd June 2021. Last 10,000 startups added in just 180 days. that is only in, despite COVID in 2021, because year 2020 was full of COVID, and there was a lot of decline in all the activities, including inventions. So recognized startups have now spread across 623 districts. We have 739 districts in India. So still few districts there is no startup. I don't know. I don't have the figure immediately for West Bengal, but then yes, we have to look at districts, province-wise also, and each state and UT has at least one startup. So that means West Bengal definitely has few startups, but maybe that all districts are not filled up, not filled up. Then 16,000 startups being recognized in the year 2021. This is what we see, 10,000 only in last 6 months. So about 1.7 lakh jobs created by recognized startups in 2021. Because once you have the startup, so it is also an opportunity to create more jobs. Okay, so leadership teams of 45% startups have a women entrepreneur. So if some of the students are girls, so they should also feel very jubilant that yes, they can also be one of the startups, because almost 50% startups have been women in our country so far. So these are the results, also coincides with our economic survey. 41,061 Indian government has recognized so far. Then 470,000 jobs created by more than 39,000 startups, and 1.75 lakhs startup jobs rose to 1.75 lakhs in 2020. So this is how startups are coming up. And top startup ecosystems in 2020. Now, if you look at the rank of the startups and the ecosystem in the country, so United States, total number of startups are 11. The score given to United States is 11.792, Israel 4.6, Canada 3.65. This is out of 100. So this is how the United States is having the highest score. Then top startup ecosystem in 2020, and we need to see that so far India does not score very good in the startups, but then gradually startup position of India is improving. If you look at from the worldwide startup rate, the Chile highest 19.8%. The rate of startup is quite high in United States, and then Brazil and Canada. But India also has the growth of 3.2% in the startups. So the startup culture has has started growing in our country. So students, this is how I try to link the whole issue of ideas to IPSA to IPR, and then the role of R&D and how you can improve the IP ecosystem, and then the startup, how startup can help creating jobs and making. So ultimate aim is that how we can have a self-reliant India. So for self-reliant India, 5 pillars of Atmanirbhar Bharat is what Government of India is looking for, and for that, to make India strong, we have to have a strong economy, strong infrastructure, strong technological support, and then demography, that means the youth, and then the demand. We have to also the demand comes from the rural folk issue. We have to have facilitating. We need to facilitate the demand of the local people, the local product. So these 5 fundamentals our Prime Minister is thinking of, to have a strong economy, strong infrastructure, strong technological support, whether it is this technology, digital technology or information technology. So from all angles, and in together, what I would say that India needs to promote the innovation. India needs to promote innovation through inventions, scientific inventions, and engineering. So this is how I think we should look at how the startup, self-employment, and in totality, the education should aim at creating more and more ideas and more IP asset, more and more IPR, and more innovators and startups to make India a strong country. So with this, I would like to conclude my teachings and remarks. Now I open the forum for discussion. The students may have some questions. So, Madhumita ji, you can request the students if they have any questions, we can dwell upon that. Thank you.
Much, sir, for this very engaging and informative talk on IP, IPR, IP ecosystem, innovation, and startups. Not only the students, but I sitting in your talk learned a lot. So let me just open this session for the questions from students. Sure, students will be having some questions. So if any of you is interested in asking a question, please unmute yourself and you may ask.
Hello, sir.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Please introduce yourself, give your name and questions. Yeah.
Yes, sir. I am Parekar Dashrath, sir. And as you said earlier, we have to register our idea to the governing body, whatever. And I have a question on that.
Right.
Please, sir, let's suppose a person A has a idea.
Okay.
Any problems? Sorry, sir.
Yes,
Parekh,
you may continue. Yes, sorry. Yes.
Yeah, now I can see the faces.
Yes, am I audible properly, sir?
Yeah, I am able to hear you, but I am unable to see your face.
Sir, there is some issue with my camera.
Okay, yeah. Okay, that's what I am. Yeah. Please.
So let's suppose the person A has an idea by himself, and in the corner of current country, other person B has the same idea, and
Right.
he registers first to the governing body. So my question is, the idea of a person A, which is same like person B, is taken into consideration or not?
Okay, your question is very relevant. Okay. Now, what you have said that there are two A and B parallelly developing the same idea. Okay. Now, you have to understand what I have said. Idea, then it has to be expressed. Expression of idea. And then this expression of idea, if it is a scientific idea, then it will take the color of invention. Okay. So, from idea to invention, there is a cycle. Idea in itself is not your invention. From idea to become an invention, you have to pass through several stages. Okay.
Yes.
Now, those stages I have told you that from the lab stage to the stage of proof of concept, then to the stage of pilot, and then finally commercialization. Now, this is the cycle for the idea to become an asset. Okay.
Yes.
But in the process, you have to also see at what stage you can legalize it. Okay. Now, who takes the first step for the legalization? You see, idea may keep on moving in the mind of both the person A and B. But the question is, who moves fast for the legalization of the idea? You mentioned the word governing body. You see, governing body maybe the authority within the university. Okay, so maybe the university has a intellectual property cell.
Yeah.
Okay, so the university also has a policy, IPR policy, that how these ideas have to be evolved and how they become a legal right. Okay, so the first thing as per the university policy would be that the invention or the idea which you are developing, there has to be disclosure of that idea within the university. Okay, so in the university, the governing body will look at the idea, whether this idea is unique or not.
Yes.
If the university organization feels yes, there is some strength in the idea, okay, this is not just vague, so they can provide you more facility for developing the idea through laboratory facility and through other apparatus, through proper guidance from the academic staff and everybody. So once you pass through the several stages of the idea, lab stage to the proof of concept to the pilot stage, then the university will take a call that at what point you should go for patenting it, legalizing it. Now, suppose A is under one university, U1, and B is under another university, U2. Okay.
Yes.
So, if U1 takes a speedy step in consulting a legal attorney and files a provisional patent application, and the U2 university remains in doubt and keeps on doing their own research work, okay, and keeps on developing the same idea into a asset, into a tangible invention, then university 1, which files the patent application first, they will get a legal right, and university 2, which lags behind in filing the patent application before the patent authority, that is Government of India. So you should have a clarity in your mind. Governing body is one, Government of India is one. So what we have to be very particular is that disclosure before a governing body is one thing, but disclosure before the government authority, which is the Indian Patent Office, that is the most important. So unless this patent application is filed with the patent office, you don't get the patent right. Then even if you are first, suppose B has invented the idea first, A has invented the ideas later. Say if you look at the date, suppose 1st June 2021 and 1st July 2021. Okay. A1, student A, he has invented the idea on 1st July 2021. B has invented the idea on 1st June 2021. Okay. But if A has filed the patent application before the patent authority, Government of India, say on 1st August, and B, he keeps sleeping, doing further research and files the desires to file the patent application on say 1st November. Okay. So who has filed the first application before the patent authority? A. On the 1st August. B has intended to file on the 1st November. So even though A invented the idea on 1st July, whereas B invented the idea earlier, 1st June.
Yes, sir.
So inventing the idea or creating the idea is one thing, and filing the idea as a invention before the patent authority is another thing. So the rule is not the who invents first. The rule under the law is who files first. Okay. So the rule is not who invents first, but the rule is who files first. So this is what the law says. So who files first? All right.
Yes.
Is it clear to you?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Dasrat?
May I?
Sir, hi,
May
sir.
I?
Good afternoon, sir.
Hello, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Hello, sir.
Sir, I have a question that I have some ideas in physics. I want to share with someone, professor in IIEST. So, sir, tell me to whom should I send my ideas?
Rajkumar.
Yes, sir.
So Rajkumar, your question is that you have invented an idea. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Now your question is, whom should you report? To the governing body of IIEST, or you should inform to the government?
Yes, sir.
See, you as a student, you have to follow the rules of the university.
Yes,
So
sir.
all the students should have a meeting, and the university will tell you that there is a rule, there is a policy of the university for helping the students in getting a invention processed and also getting a invention processed as a patent. So this thing must be clear to you between the students and the university. And then the university will also tell you the rule, who will get the patent, whether the patent will be registered in the name of the student or it will be registered in the name of the university. Because there is always a collaboration. When you do the research, you may be inventing the idea, but the university is providing you the infrastructure. The university is also providing you the guidance through the senior professors and the teachers. So each university, they have a IPR policy, intellectual property right policy. So most of the university, they have a system of, telling how you share the intellectual property right, joint right. And then supposing some of you is very brilliant, and in the second year or third year itself, you are able to develop a very strong idea. Say those who are in the computer science, okay, you are able to develop something very new which can enable some functioning of the market. Now you have to talk to the governing body of the university that this is what I have been able to develop. Now the university can tell you whether it needs any further development, or university can allow you to consult a legal attorney independently. So that depends upon the university IPR policy. Who gets the IPR? Whether the students get the IPR, or the university gets the IPR, or the IPR is jointly owned by the students, the faculty, and the university. Okay, so it all depends on the IPR policy. But maybe one day another lecture, because there can be a full session about the IPR policy, because that can give you a motivation. Because somebody may feel, yes, I am doing this, but then the IPR may go to the university, may go to somebody else. So you may conceal your idea till you come out from the university. And then once you come out from the university, maybe three of you, 4 of you, 5 of you join together and consult a person like me to help you to get a IPR. This is also happening. But then the country is losing. Because if you hold your idea for another 3 years, the time is not going to wait. As you said, that somebody has some other university, they may be fast to file the IPR. So even if you had invented the idea earlier, you will lose the time. So university must go for a practical and pragmatic policy. Okay. So this is how I can answer briefly your question.
Sir, I have a question.
Hello, sir. Excuse me, sir.
Hello, sir. I have a question, sir. Oh, sir.
Excuse me, sir.
You should have a system. You please refer to Madhumita Di. Then you can, or you can, through a chat box, you can write to her that you want to raise the question. So only one can raise a question. So Madhumita Di can, as a moderator, she can help. Who can have the next question?
Thank you, sir. Thank you for clarifying it. Tanisha Kumari, we have a question from a girl student. So let us take her question first. Tanisha, you may ask.
Hello, sir.
Tanisha, yes.
May I audible? Hello,
Yes,
sir.
yes.
May I audible?
Yeah,
Sir, I
you
have
are
a
audible,
question.
but you're not visible. Your face is not visible. So I am unable to, see your body language.
So I have a question that,
Okay.
sir, as you said that the patent has a duration of 20 years. So after that duration, is anyone able to copy that patent?
Yes. Legal right for a patent, as I mentioned, the government grants you a monopoly right about your invention only for a limited period of 20 years. Thereafter, it becomes a public property. It comes in the public domain. Because the whole idea is that when you disclose your invention to the government gives you a protection. You can do the exploitation of your invention for any benefit you want, but that is limited to 20 years, because you cannot keep the field of knowledge bounded by your legal. You must give opportunity, because on the basis of your invention, somebody else can develop it further. You see, so many inventions are there for automobiles, for electricity. So if the patent law had allowed the person for a whole life, or say for unlimited time, then there would be no further development in the technology. So somebody has developed, he enjoys the legal right for 20 years, but in the meantime, somebody wants to improve it. You see, some air condition is there, so it is consuming more electricity, but somebody else may develop further some invention, and thereby the electricity consumption can be low. Okay, maybe some automobile, some car is giving you a certain kilometer mileage, fuel efficiency, but somebody else can develop it further to further increase the fuel efficiency, and thereby the car can go, say, travel more miles with the same amount of fuel consumption. So as I said, the environment is a big issue, fossil fuel consumption. So somebody may say, okay, now you have the e-vehicle, you have the AV and the EV, automatic vehicle, driverless vehicle, and the electrical vehicles. Okay, how it is coming? So there is already an invention, automobiles. So he doesn't have to develop the engine, but then he is bringing some new technology whereby instead of using the petrol or diesel, you can use either a solar energy through the battery, or you can use some other methodology. Okay, So these electric vehicles which are coming up, those could not have come if you had restricted that no, whatever the earlier inventor has developed, he has the monopoly right whole life and the whole world. So another point is that your legal right on the patent, not only that it is limited to 20 years, it is also limited to the territory. If you are registering your patent only in India, then it is in public domain, and if you have not registered it in Bangladesh or in Nepal, then somebody else sitting in Bangladesh, he can copy it. And you cannot use the sword against him. So that shield and the sword you have to look at. You have shielded your invention globally in the countries or only in India.
Sorry, sir, for Vinit Kumar, your microphone is off. Please switch it off. Vinit Kumar, yes.
Is it clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, next question.
Okay, Amurta Singh, I can
Hello,
see
sir.
you raised your hand. Please ask your question.
Sir, is every patent not valid for worldwide?
No, there is no global patent. It's a territorial jurisdiction, national jurisdiction. Okay. Copyright, yes. Copyright, if you have written a book, you under a Berne Convention, you get a copyright in almost 120, 130 countries or so, those who are member of the Berne Convention. But for patent, for trademark, it is always the territorial jurisdiction, the national territory where you are registering it. But for a patent also, if you register it in all the different countries where you feel that the people may need it, you get a patent right. Suppose I have an invention on a particular technology which is used, say, in this mobile phone. So I may get it registered in India. I may also get it registered in US and UK and say France and Germany. Okay. So there is a treaty called PCT, Patent Cooperation Treaty. So under that treaty, I have the option of filing the patent in different countries. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Sir, I have questions from you. Let us take questions from some other students because I've seen a lot of students have raised hand. Amurta, please ask your question.
Morning, sir. Myself, Amartya Singh. Sir, I have a question. If someone files a patent first, but a second person innovate, more efficient, more economically efficient, and efficient in every manner, but the first person do not want us to use that technology. I have seen a case between the Chrysler and Mahindra too, where Mahindra lost every case, majorly in every country, because Chrysler have a patent in 1960 and Mahindra later on developed the technology. So it doesn't want let them to sell their vehicles in many countries. For instance, Thar is banned in America. They cannot move on those. Then what should the second person do in that case? Because
it's a good question. You see, there's something called prior art search. Okay. The invention has to have some novelty. Now, suppose company X, suppose Suzuki. Okay. Suzuki has developed particular invention for its steering system or say for its exhaustion of the used gases. Now, Mahindra or Tata in India also want to develop some technology which may be similar but has to be some unique than what Suzuki has developed. Okay. So you may be seeing today that it is not only one Tesla which is developing the electrical vehicle. There are many other companies which are in the process. Okay. Similarly, for the this COVID vaccination, Pfizer had one medicine, Moderna had its own medicine, Johnson and Johnson had its own medicine. Okay, so in India also we had the Covaxin. We had the Covishield. Now each one can. So each vaccine is given for this thing only, COVID only, but their features are different. Some vaccination has the effect of 90% cure, some has 85% efficacy, some has 95% efficacy. So if you look at the chemical or biocomposition of the vaccine, each one is different. So each one is for the same disease, okay, but each one has some novelty. So to get a patent, there are three criteria. Okay, number one, novelty. Number two, inventive steps or non-obviousness, and the third is industrial application. Okay, so if any new inventor can satisfy any of the three, or all the three, sorry, not any of the, all the three conditions, that is the criteria of novelty, the criteria of inventiveness, and the criteria of industrial application, you can apply for the patent. But then maybe the earlier inventor, he may raise a question before the patent authority, before it is granted. No, you cannot do it. So there are pre-grant opposition, post-grant opposition, then there are revocation applications. So there are overlapping. So a lot of disputes keep on going. But ultimately, if you can prove no, it may be similar, but it is not same. Okay. Then if it is not same, even if it is similar, so if there is a novelty feature into it, you get a patent. Okay.
Thanks.
Next question.
I've seen Sai Suchishat Kalasam. You raised your hand. Please ask your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Sir, I am Sai Suchishat, and I have a doubt regarding the patents. Let's say that I have invented a certain device X, and I patented it so that I can receive its benefits. Sir, but now my question is, now that I've patented it, but I also wish for my technology to be developed and enhanced further. Like for the sake of humanity or for the sake of my country, I want that technology to be developed further by somebody else because I have run out of ideas. So in that case, will my patent stop others from developing the technology, or if I can grant them permission to work on the technology, will they be able to work on it?
See, this is also a very good question. Now, as he has said, that he has developed one particular invention and he has got a patent over it. Now, he feels that this technology should be available to others for further development. Now,
Yes.
Now you see, once you have been granted a patent, your entire formula of the invention is on the public domain. Okay, with the patent authority. You see, once the patent office grant you the patent, your invention is on the public domain. So it is available to the others for developing further. Okay. So the very purpose of granting you 20 years life is that you get an exclusive right to
Okay.
exclude others from copying it, from selling it, from manufacturing it without your permission.
Okay.
But if you allow somebody, either in lieu of giving you some license fees or royalty, they can use it. So
Okay.
therefore, what happens that you feel that yes, your invention is very good, but you don't have enough money. Suppose your invention may enable you to manufacture, say, 5,000 cars. But if you feel, no, India needs 100,000 cars. Today, India is importing cars, so I should give this license to many others. So instead of, restricting this monopoly right with me, I allow 10 other people in 10 different provinces to use this. So you can grant them license.
Okay.
You can grant them license, take the license fees, and allow them to use it, and also allow them. So the terms and conditions of the technology transfer will speak what they can do and what they cannot do. If the
Okay.
further development will also be shared with you or not. So there are several issues in the technology. These are some tickling issues. The
Okay, sir.
question of technology, then the question of technical know-how, the question of some secret, because once you apply for the patent, there are few things which you disclose before the patent office. There are few things which you, so even if the invention is in the public domain, just by getting, so now many companies or many NGOs where before the WTO TRIPS Council that okay, this COVID is there are so many people around the world. So we have 785 crore people. So the vaccines are in shortage. So everybody should get a right to manufacture it. They should get. So the companies they said okay, we give it to you, but once I give you, it doesn't mean that you will be able to manufacture it. There are so many other technical. So invention is one thing, but technology is another thing.
Hmm.
You see, in one mobile phone, there are 1,000 programs, 1,000 different inventions, and those inventions may be belonging to 100 different people. So Apple company is contacting all those inventors. It's not that the inventions belong to, you see, this is the difference in the startup and the innovators and the inventors. Innovator is Apple, the inventors are spread all over the world. So those inventors, so Apple keep approaching them. So to have a latest model, so they keep talking to the university, the inventors, the scientist community. They know who. So this is all always happening. And then there are several other issues: cross licensing, exclusive licensing, non-exclusive. I don't want to take you into those detailed things, but broadly, yes, I agree with you.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
So, with your permission, we'll take the last question for the session.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah, we have already crossed time, I think 12:40, but then yes.
Let's just take one last question because there are many students, they're very eager to ask questions.
Actually, I have raised my hand.
I'm happy that something which I have told them, they have been able to grasp it and they have been able to understand it.
Hello, sir. Myself, Udayan Das. Sir, can you please take my question?
Okay,
What is your name?
One of
Hand
you
was
to,
raised, sir.
okay, 1 minute. We'll just allow one of you to speak. Udayan, have seen you have raised your hand for a long time. So we'll just take
Yes.
your question and finish this session. I'm
Yes,
sorry
Uday.
of you because we have actually run out of time. We can't afford any more questions. But I'm sure sir will be eager to or allow you to field his questions to him through email or some other means. But Uday, you ask your question and
After this, I can take another one question. Yes.
Hello, sir.
Yes. Udin, yeah, please.
Sir, you know that India has the problem of brain drain, sir. Means the students of India, after the graduation of the education from India, sir, they go to other countries for work, sir. So the problem of brain drain. Sir, can you please propose some potential solution to brain drain? Can you please propose some solution to brain drain?
Okay. So as in during the course of my lecture also, or my talk also, I mentioned this issue, something on the IP ecosystem. Okay. And I also mentioned that India spends only 0.67% of its GDP into the research. Okay. Now, see, we have a huge human resource, as I said in the beginning also, that India has a very rich human resource, and human resource contributes 64% of the economic resources. Okay. But I also mentioned that we also need some capital resource. So natural resource, capital resource, human resource. We have human resource, but we are lacking in capital resource. Now, the reason why Indian brain is drained out, there are several reasons, but one fundamental reason is that we do not have enough qualitative research facilities. That is number one. Number two, for Indians to do business in India, you see, only an idea doesn't help. You have to have a complete ecosystem, the business culture. Now, in India also, you find that Bangalore is just developing like in Silicon Valley. Okay. So those who are in Bangalore, they may be getting some immediate chance, to retain their ideas and to do something here. But if you look at in Calcutta, or say somebody sitting in Tezpur, Guwahati, Dibrugarh, they may not even get a chance of speaking from a very low level person like from me, who can educate them, who can create some motivating ideas to them that yes, you can do it. So that is why Government of India for the first time came out with this national IPR policy. But as you know, the government is good just to create some document. So national IPR policy is just in the book. It is not being implemented. In the first year itself, the government had allocated a budget of about 1,000 crore for spreading education about the IPR. Okay. I am running an Institute of International. I said, okay, you allow me to do something to spread this education to the northeastern part, and you don't give money to me, you give money to them. Like today, IIEST has organized this. They have invited me to deliver a talk. Okay, I am engaging my 2 hours, not for money, but to make our country strong, make our people strong, make our students more motivating. So that is the purpose. So now, you see, unless the people of this country, unless the university themselves, unless the students themselves, unless the private sector itself, you see, government has very limited means to do. If you look at Indian economy, 90% of the economy is run by the private sector. Only 10% by the government. But 90% of the research is done by the government. CSIR and many other IITs and private sector is not spending money on the R&D. So if only 0.6%, 7% of our GDP is being spent on the R&D, that is because the private sector is not spending at all. So unless this culture is changed, whereby we have a very strong IP ecosystem of creating awareness, and in the total, totality IP ecosystem, which I have said, that creation of idea to the protection, for enforcement, for commercialization, and all those things. Unless we have that thing, our brain is getting drained over the years. We had the best of the inventors in our countries. Okay. So your question is very sensitive and very pertinent, but the answer is that each one of us has to take a pledge. Yes, we want to make India a self-reliant India. We have to form certain groups and we have to move. That would be the real movement for the economic independence of India. Otherwise, with a population of 135 or 140 crore people, with so many youth in our country, this we are talking of demographic dividend. We have been talking only. It is not yielding. The dividend is not coming. The dividend is shifting to somebody else. Okay. So our youth, they are unable to serve this motherland. They are serving the people in other countries. So United States is becoming richer and India is remaining. So India's economy is only $3 trillion. United States is earning double of that only from the IPR, $6.6 trillion, as I've told you. So the purpose of, giving a very varied way of presentation, so that you understand all the pros and cons, not only the legal aspect of it, the economic and the commercial aspect of it. Okay, so we have to, keep on doing something for these things. To reversal of the brain drain is very, very important. That is one thing which government of India, which the people of India have to, take on priority. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Okay, sir.
So we can't take any more questions. And thank you very much, sir, for taking time out of your busy schedule and not only delivering a very stimulating talk, but also answering so many questions raised by the students. As you can see from the response, they have learned a lot from your engaging talk. Thank you so much once again. So we formally end this session here. For the students, the next session is starting at 2:30 p.m. And the speaker is Dr. Shoptoshi Ghosh, Department of Computer Science and Engineering, IIT Kharagpur. So you join the next session accordingly.
So, Madhumita, can I just request for one Shanti Mantra, which I usually do before closing the session?
Sir, please.
So, with the Shanti Mantra, Kalyan Mantra, I start. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschit Dukkhad Bhave. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. We hope we
Thank you,
meet
sir.
again. Thank you.
Hello, ma'am.